so proud of myself.
I did
it all right tonight.
I was like not doing anything this time because I just assumed we were going to go right to a black screen.
Yeah, I'm keeping you on your toes, man. Look at you in your backwards hat.
Yeah, I didn't have time to like do anything to my hair or anything, so this is just how we're rocking today.
All right, I'm feeling the look. What's on the other side of the hat?
Waxworks Records.
Oh, of course. You didn't get
just
anything in the mail then, right?
So I was part of the club last year. So they're so far behind that Waxworks does like a yearly club. So like I'm still owed, I think, 3 vinyls from that set alone, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Texas Chainsaw 2. I did get Bloodsport and I did get Carrie. So like they're slowly getting there. And like again, like it's just to do with shipping problems. But yeah, so I'm like getting the things. You get like a hat, you get like all these like cool things that come with the club's subscription. So still working on it, but I got the hat.
If I would actually use the record player more, maybe I would sign up for a subscription. But like maybe once the Fear Street record arrives, I'll finally, kick the usage there into high gear.
Yeah, I mean my validation was like I would have gotten Bloodsport and Killer Clowns and a few anyway. So like they were all part of the club and you got all these like additives for it, and my buddy wanted one, so he paid some money on it. So yeah, it worked for it.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. We already have some super chats here.
We do.
We should probably tell everybody up top. So if you clicked on this video, you probably know that we're going to talk the Batman spoilers. We're not going to do it yet, though. So if anyone here has not seen the movie, don't worry. You're safe for a little while. We got a couple topics we want to get to first. And also, Matt has to give his non-spoiler thoughts on the movie. All right.
Correct.
Let's have Eric kick us off tonight. Watching fresh now on Hulu. Please tell me you've seen this movie. Matt, you haven't seen it, right?
I have not. I had to wait until it hit Hulu, and I had not have a chance to jump into it just yet. So tonight, I'm actually gonna watch fresh.
You're not that far behind. It didn't come out tonight.
Oh,
yeah.
It is like, but still, like I'm usually good about jumping on a release when that like drops that night. But last night I did the Batman, so like last night I had to prioritize the Batman because I couldn't see that earlier either. So
were you were you prioritizing seeing the Batman, or were you prioritizing eating what was it like churro flavored popcorn or something?
Not churro flavored. So it was popcorn tossed with cinnamon sugar and then tossed again with fried churro bits. So like you would get a handful of like popcorn, little fried churro bits and cinnamon sugar. I will admit like the fried churro bits kind of tasted like out of a bag or something, but everything else about it just works so well. Like it's one of my favorite specialty menu items because that was at the Alamo Draft House. It's part of their Gotham menu. It was the Enigma popcorn.
I'm sure it's excellent, but I feel like that would have put me into food coma for a 3-hour movie. It would have been dangerous.
Big old tummy ache at 2 a.m.
I would bet. I did see Fresh though. Speaking of tummy aches, and it's very good. I liked it quite a bit. The concept is extremely on the nose, but I think when you have it directed with such style and such forceful leads, and Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones, that concept is going to work. And also the supporting ensemble in this movie is great too. So this is one I saw out of Sundance this year, and I thought it played very, very well. And it is also something I would definitely rewatch too. Like I think it's got that kind of quality to it. So I hope you like it, Eric. And I hope everybody else out there checks it out because I thought it was quite good. It was super sticker. Yes. Oh, of course. It was. Of course I clicked on Andrew.
No, I did that. That was me.
Okay.
I clicked on that. No, I'm just saying it was very sticky. Yes, sticky. You are correct. I went through so many napkins just there.
It was just so weird because that happened literally when I clicked on our super sticker and that just appeared. And I thought the world was messing with my head.
You've given me control and that was your biggest mistake.
I know. Spartan119, thank you for the super sticker that we can't see on StreamYard, but I'm sure it's beautiful. And we thank you so much for the sticker and for your support.
We're both using our phones as our cameras. So we've given up the option to go on YouTube and like find it on our phones and stuff like that.
Well, there's other ways. So I keep going back to the idea of maybe switching over to Streamlabs or incorporating Streamlabs, I should say.
Okay.
And then I just never do it. I think that would let us see the sticker.
Did you see, by the way, Songbird replied with a GIF?
Where?
On Twitter. Did you see the GIF on Twitter?
No.
Just go very quickly. You requested
like as in a reply to my tweet?
I think it's a reply to Mine or yours?
Okay, I'm clicking on
yours. So your latest tweet,
just
look at it really quickly.
Wait, it just popped up and it disappeared. Oh my God.
Thank you for gifting that songbird.
I'm
For those who don't know,
retweeting that right
we put a Jurassic Park poster between me and Perri last week to start the show, and we both popped up from behind it. And we were like, this is very funny. Someone should gift this.
Oh,
and Songbird did. So thank you, Songbird.
Thank you. Oh my God, I love that so much. We got Ryan in the house, seeing the Batman tomorrow. Can't wait. In that case, Ryan, I hope you enjoy the movie, and I hope you enjoy about half of this live stream tonight. Don't spoil the movie for yourself, my friend.
Yep.
We have so many people here today. Ryan's back with another one. Hey, Perri and Matt, what are your thoughts on the Oscars article that came out today that pretty much said that ABC was responsible for cutting the 8 categories and all the changes going on this year? You know, I didn't have the time to read that whole thing through. I read a blurb that someone sent me, though, and I mean, it pretty much comes down to that. And man, that's a complicated matter. It's a complicated matter that I'd like to dig into a little more before I actually comment on it, but situation's pretty frustrating right now.
I mean, that's what we get to going back to the conversations we were having last week. Just the sense that it's going to come down to business at some point, and it's going to come down to ratings and numbers, and that might be out of the Academy's hands. That very much makes sense that it would be the station itself saying, like, you have this much time, we're going to give you this much screen time, and like that's about it. So, that sucks because it's not even coming down to like the creative decision coming from the Oscars. That's somebody else making that decision, but decisions are run by money. So if that is how we're interpreting it and what it means, yeah.
I'm trying to find the actual article with this bit that I read today. I feel like I'm not gonna find it quickly enough for this stream.
It's okay.
I know, but I wanted to talk about it and should have flagged it earlier, but I didn't.
All good. Do
you want to talk about something while I look real quick?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, there's not much more to get into then. If we're just talking about a studio, or sorry, again, we're talking about ABC saying they're responsible for cutting the 8 categories and just getting into the sense that it has to be commercial. It has to bring people in, and if that's ABC saying, "Hey, we're gonna make this decision for you," it sucks, but it's ABC station, and they can do that. That is the unfortunate side of, like, again, things being run by money, things being run by stuff like that. You have to think about it.
I think I found it. Yeah. it's a lot longer than I thought. There's a lot of stuff here. THR has spoken with numerous Academy governors, members, and insiders on both sides of the debate to try to get a better sense of their concerns. Yeah, I'm not going to do this right now.
We'll save it for next week.
We're going to be here for forever if I start picking out live little bits of this article.
We can save it for save that article. We'll get to it next week and give a more in-depth.
Well, by the time we come back to it next week, that article is likely going to be obsolete because, I mean, we could hope that they would make changes by then.
Yeah. And then we had one more, I think, right? One more super chat.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Devontae Brown says new Alien movie announced. Said it's straight to Hulu. Do you have that article handy, Matt?
It's Fede Alvarez doing a Alien movie, and again, it's going straight to Hulu. That is basically what the basis is. So now we have an Alien movie. Somebody said that in the chat already. So whoever said this in the chat, I'm just repeating what you said. But here we go, Songbird. So we have a Predator movie and an Alien movie going straight to Hulu. At what point do we get the crossover again? Like it makes perfect sense.
It is a Hollywood Reporter exclusive, so it's going to have Fede Alvarez on board, and Ridley Scott is also on board to produce, actually, which is a pretty big deal. Fede's going to write and direct an original standalone Alien feature for 20th Century Studios, and there is zero information on the story. Surprise! Is intended to be made as Hulu. Yeah, there's no information.
Yeah, I think this is early announcements, but like, I think Fede Alvarez has all the right parts as a creative visionary to make a good Alien movie. I think he could also do away with some of the character tendencies he has in previous films. And I think he was going to make an alien movie. I hope he really stresses like the visual and stuff like that, because his short that got him noticed was kind of like an alien attack in a way. Like it was like this massive kind of like, it's still short. It's a short feature, but like in all of like 6 minutes, 7 minutes, however long it is, like he does a pretty good panic scenario and invasion scenario. And I don't know, maybe he brings something to Earth, and maybe we start talking about like aliens. If it's a standalone, I think you can play with stuff like that. So like maybe this is aliens on Earth some way or something in that nature. Not saying it is, I have no idea, but like that would be cool.
There's one tiny little story detail here. So it says Alvarez's take is being kept deep inside the studio's chest, but sources describe it as unconnected to the previous movies. Okay. Then it goes on to say he is a big fan. The idea, this is not worthwhile. 20th Century picked up the project purely off the strength of Fede's pitch. So that's kind of exciting. It was just a really good story with a bunch of characters you haven't seen before. Like what does unconnected to the previous movies mean though? You know? How far do you go with that?
I mean, if we're going like in the sense of the most recent films or dealing with like, you know, Prometheus and Covenant, like those were new characters anyway. We're introducing new timelines in a way because we went pre. So we're already away from Ripley. We're already away from that kind of stuff. So if we're saying unconnected in this realm, does that mean that we're like maybe going to do something that's connected to the older movies in some way, but still not, and like not a prequel? Like there's a lot going on in the timeline here in the chronology.
Yeah, if it like the way this article reads is it's going to be very far removed from anything that we've seen before.
I mean, make a super scary alien movie again. Like, not that there hasn't been one in a while.
Contained,
like there was some
contained.
Yes.
Like I feel like when I say far removed, I don't mean far removed from the story details. I more so mean its own contained thing that, you know, maybe doesn't even feel like it lives in the same, like it needs to feel like it lives in the same universe. I feel like this comment I'm about to make is going to get blown out of proportion, but like feels like its own thing, you know, where you're not necessarily thinking while you're watching it that it's its own thing within this thing.
Yeah, I could see Alvarez wanting to get back to the original too. I think that like the original Alien is such a good extraterrestrial horror film, saying contained in the way that like it's a good isolated horror film. And if we look at what Alvarez did on like Don't Breathe and films about confined spaces and hunting and things of that nature, because like Don't Breathe is like kind of like this weird hunt and chase scenario in a confined space. I don't know. I think that Alvarez could bring us back to that kind of vibe and really like, again, stress the horror of Alien, because, you know, every movie does stress the horror in some way, but I think there's like the original is still the scariest of any of them. So like, I don't know. I feel like if your strength of pitch is that good, but then again, Neil Blomkamp had a great pitch and he was rumored to do an Alien movie for so long, and that's no longer happening. So like, grain of salt, I would say, almost in a way. Then again,
and he made Demonic.
He's gone, man. Blomkamp is just done.
No,
I don't know. Oats Studio is going strong. He's making some really good shorts with Oats Studios, but like
everyone has a hiccup. Everyone has a hiccup, and it's not like
he fell off.
I mean, that feels kind of dramatic. Like, I guess it's fair to say he fell off in terms of like you start out with like so much fire under you, courtesy of a movie like District 9. And then, you know, your next couple of films don't necessarily hit that level, but the guy's like super creative. And it's just like the nature of filmmaking that sometimes you have these big ideas and all the pieces don't come together quite like you imagined. And you end up with a little bit of a dud like Demonic. But, you know, I don't love Elysium, but it's not that bad of a movie. I just don't like it as much as the others. And you know how I feel about Chappie. I freaking love Chappie.
We won't touch Chappie.
Yeah,
we'll leave Chappie alone. We'll leave Chappie alone.
Right.
We have a few more. We got
Sam here. How you doing, Sam? Bummed I can't stay for this one. Got to get back to work, but I wanted to pop in and give my support. Have a great show. So appreciated, Sam. By the way, Sam told me that I said, go home, Sam, right? Go home, Sam.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We had that conversation last week. We have Jordan Ross Weinhold here. Grateful for all you do with help getting the word out. Not just Batman, any good film. Thank you for being a cheerleader for the underdogs of cinema. We try. We definitely try.
We do try.
Often. It's like it doesn't even require trying. I think it just comes naturally to both of us.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on indie horror and stuff like that. So, if there's something to talk about, we'll be talking about it.
All right, let's roll through this quickly from Ryan. The article basically said that ABC gave the Oscars a choice between picking the host they want or keeping the 8 categories that were eventually cut. So the Oscars decided to go with picking the host. We are going to table this for next week, but thank you for the basics, Ryan.
Okay.
We've got, unless while I'm reading this, Matt, you want to find the specific parts of the article. I just don't want to get into that kind of stuff without properly sourcing it.
We also have Batman in the title, so we should get to Batman stuff eventually.
D-Train's here. Mark my words. The Batman will be nominated for Best Picture. The Oscars go for this type of movie. 9.5 out of 10.
I have thoughts on that specific comment later.
I
have thoughts on that.
Are we going to save that for the spoiler portion of the video?
No, because I won't get into spoiler territory about my thoughts on what I think deserves awards. There was a comment somewhere.
Let me just read the second half of Ryan's thing. The article also said that ABC saw last year's ratings and decided to intervene with the Oscars by doing the fan award and cutting the unnecessary stuff, aka the 8 categories. So stay tuned, guys. We will dig into this more.
So ABC wanted the fan award. That's interesting. Okay. Thank you, Ryan, by the way. Again, thank you for that.
Thank you for providing.
Now we know where to start next week too. So I just want to bring this up really quick. Wiley, wait until we put the spoiler thing up. Wait until we'll do a nice little spoiler thing that says
once the spoiler warning is at the bottom of the screen, that will be everybody's cue who hasn't seen the movie to leave, and then you can chime in with as many spoiler comments as you would like.
Open season after that.
Did we have something else to talk about before Batman?
I don't.
Shining Veil. Shining Veil.
Oh, that's right. We can talk about Shining Veil quick.
Okay. Do you want to give y'all 2 cents?
Yeah. For those who don't know, Shining Veil is a Starz show, I believe. Correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a Starz original show starting this week. Greg Kinnear, Courtney Cox, and their family move into a haunted house. Getting very quickly to the basis of it, Courtney Cox's character has cheated on Greg Kinnear. They're trying to put their marriage back together, put their family back together. And it comes into a scenario where Courtney Cox is seeing ghosts. Everyone thinks she might be crazy. And it becomes a thing of mental health versus possession. And that's all we get in the first 2 episodes alone. So I feel it's going to get way more complicated with that, and in a good way too, storytelling devices. But early thoughts are, it's a fun show in the way that it is working within the horror world. And it is definitely trying to throw comedy at you. Enough. This is not a super dour show, but it's still hitting on the emotional notes very hard. So you're gonna get a little oddball throw out to The Shining. You're gonna see a little Amityville horror thing, and they're very obvious call outs. They want horror fans to be that's cool, I like that. But then the character beats are also really deep in the way, because they want to tell a good story too. This isn't just about I saw The Shining, I saw Amityville horror. No, they're actually trying to tell a story here, and I think that's what puts it a step above those other shows that are just trying to do fan servicing. They're doing good character work here, which is why I was invested for the first 2 episodes I saw.
Yeah, it's I don't want to call it an easy breezy watch, but it felt like those 2 episodes flew by, and I imagine that once the show wraps up, it's going to be a pretty solid binge to do. Mainly because I have so much else to watch right now and I know what's going to happen. I know I'm going to wait until it's all out and then I'm going to binge the entire thing. But I did really like the first 2 episodes, and it's nice that it feels very evenly horror comedy to me. Actually horror comedy and drama too. It's got some really effective jump scares. So the person that I was sitting next to that entire screening reacted to literally everything. And I feel like that made me enjoy it even more. Just certain things that I wouldn't flinch at. Actually things that weren't even jump scares she was jumping at, but it was delighting me to no end. But anyway, even if you do have a higher scare tolerance, I think some of the scares in this are pretty effective, and the comedic beats are great too. And I think it's largely because Courtney Cox and Greg Kinnear have such great chemistry and comedic timing with each other, and they're so charming together, which is another thing that's interesting to say, because again, there are dramatic elements to the show that I think are woven pretty naturally into the horror and the comedy. And You know, just in general, that's what I'm really appreciating about a lot of horror nowadays is it's not just about, not that there's anything wrong with this, but it's not just about the wild ride and the jump scares. They're actually saying something and digging into difficult truths through the horror and the comedy, or at least that's what it appears to be based on 2 episodes. And thus far, I am finding that more fulfilling than I might have expected from a half-hour horror comedy.
Yeah, I mean that's the best thing about horror. You can really make an emphasis on a point by using these scary elements and by using these little beats of, you know, horror's allowed to get darker, it's allowed to get meaner, it's allowed to like go places that other maybe dramas wouldn't go, because I feel like there's like a ceiling on a drama and how much they want to throw at you in most cases. And the horror allows you to kind of like basically burst through the ceiling and be like, no, this is a horror film. We're going to get really fucked up and we're going to tell a story that's like, you know, pretty fucking dark. But if we're talking about Shining Vale specifically, like it feels like everything's in on the joke. Even the title card, you know, like in the first episode, they tell a whole week, and like they'll do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as like chapter breakups. But the way they do that is like, we all know those jump scare kind of orchestral notes in the soundtrack that are trying to get a jump out of you. So like a scene will be ending and it'll just smash cut right to Monday with one of those really hard like orchestra like beats. And they know what they're doing. Like they're trying to have fun with the fact that like, we know how horror movies want to scare you, so we're going to use that to our advantage and kind of make it like a little funny and cheeky along the way. So I like how that's shot. Like Shining Vale is in on its own joke, but still trying to tell a story the right way.
I agree with all of that. What about this? Mac wants to know, are the two of you watching the horror show on the CW? Is it actually called the horror show?
I have no idea.
Do you know what this is? I have no idea what this is. Mac, tell us about it. Why should we watch it?
Amelia, is there a horror show on the CW right now? Like something called the horror show or something that's ongoing?
2 Second Horror Stories does.
2 Sentence Horror Stories?
Or 2 Sentence.
Yeah, whatever.
So that's on, and I would classify Riverdale as horror most of the time.
Mac, just give us don't super chat it. Just like give us a comment. We'll get deeper into that.
Keep an eye out for it in case I miss it. Dan Allen's here to let us know. It is Nosferatu's 100th birthday today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Wow. So young.
I know.
Also,
I can never tell the ages.
Someday, Robert Eggers will celebrate his birthday with a Nosferatu
I know. But isn't that like still on the table? I feel like he constantly
it's like still on the table.
He
wants to so bad. Like he wants to do it so bad. So I feel like that's something he'll keep pushing for.
All right. I'm going to save Haunted Autumn for our spoiler conversation.
Okay.
Let's not forget to go back to that though. Is there anything else non-Batman wise before we jump into your non-spoiler thoughts on the movie?
I don't think so. We've been going at this for 25 minutes so like I think we can kind of start going.
5 minutes already. Okay.
Time flies when you're having such an enjoyable time.
Time flies when I'm still thinking about that Oscar article that I'm dying to read.
Yeah, well, again, like sometimes things break.
What are you drinking?
So Dogfish Head started making cocktails. So this is a Dogfish Head, strawberry, and honeyberry vodka lemonade. So,
can I ask you a really obnoxious question? How much sugar is in that?
Let's see. Okay, so it's not on the can itself.
Okay.
I would have to look at like the.
I'm just curious somewhere. I want to know if I drink X amount of those, how crappy will I feel the next morning?
Oh yeah, X amount of those. You can probably do like 4 of them and be okay. Like it's sweet. Don't get me wrong. I can taste the sweetness, but it's not overpowering me.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
I'd still rather make my own. Yeah, I'd still rather make my own without all those like artificial sweeteners. But like in a pinch, I'm good on this. Okay. So 2 Seconds to Horror Stories was the go there. Oh. So I've heard good things about it. Actually, I've heard somebody like I share on IGN now top horror shows on Netflix article that like gets updated, and the person BJ Colangelo, like the person who did that, like really stressed that this is a good little bit of storytelling. Like people are having fun with the two like short bites of horror in a compact form, but still like in a mainstream way. So like I'm excited to dig into it. I think it's on Netflix or one of the streamers has it and updates it regularly. So, of course, I'm updating a Netflix article, so it's Netflix. But yeah, so like I do want to dig into it. I haven't got a chance yet.
Okay, I haven't. I honestly didn't even realize it existed. So
yeah,
on
short
the
form horror
list
storytelling,
goes.
mainstream
On the
package.
list.
Why not?
On the list that's down to the floor.
I was gonna say on the list of forever and ever.
Steven wants to know what we think should win fan favorite at the Oscars. So I'm gonna be a little like bitter
will
jerk
or should
about this.
Yeah, will or should.
Oh, who do you think should? Steven said should. Here's my here's my like bah humbug, I'm mad answer. The winner should be all the categories that are not going to get airtime. So let's just take all that airtime and give it to those categories. If I'm going to play along, Malignant.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, do I think Malignant deserves it out of every movie that we could pick from? No, I don't. I think there's 10 billion other. The audience award should go to like Mass or some shit like that. Like something that really got looked over. But if we're looking at an audience award and what's being voted now, I'm going for Malignant of the options that are in the top right now.
As much as I would love to see Mass honored at the Oscars in some way, shape, or form, of all things it's getting, it's not like an audience fan favorite award.
No, not at all. But like that's the thing. Like if I were to vote for an audience fan award, my vote would go for something like Mass, where I adored it, and it just didn't get. Yeah, like again, like something like Tick Tick Boom. Exactly. Malignant winning is hilarious, of course, but like that's not even the horror movie I would go for. Like I would put in like The Medium or something like that, like Psycho Goreman. Like those were or The Vigil. Like my top 3 horror movies of the year were The Vigil, Psycho Goreman, and The Medium. So like that's what I would have voted for. But if you're asking me to pick from what is now a popular decision, I put in Malignant because I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I want to see Malignant win. It has the most, like, the highest chance of things. I still think. What do you think will win, though? I think that it's Cinderella and Army.
What's left at this point? Where are we at?
Basically, the one and two are basically Cinderella and Army of the Dead, I believe. Still,
I was having like a lot of fun, playing along and following along until I wasn't, and then I kind of just like blocked all of that out of my mind. So what is it? Cinderella, Army of the Dead, Malignant.
Malignant. I think Spider-Man is in there at some point.
Spider-Man was in there. Something else with a Best Picture nomination was in there. Yeah. I think it might have been Power of the Dog.
Was it?
Which I just rewatched last night.
I wish I had my phone for this.
That movie is excellent. I know isn't that the downside of using your phone for a nicer camera, is that now it makes it a little more difficult to look up information.
Yeah, I'm not bringing it up right now. I have to Google that. Okay. No, I'm not doing that. But yeah, I think that was
failed so hard tonight to look up information.
Well, I don't know. This question I wasn't expecting to have all the Oscar Audience Award nominees on my table right now.
Can we blame the fact that Batman is so damn good, it scrambled our brains for the weekend?
Yes, sure.
Are you trying to hide your reaction to the movie?
No, I'm not trying to hide. I mean,
okay.
I liked it. I liked it. Pig.
Right.
I would have voted for Pig to be my Audience Award winner because, again, one of my favorite movies of the year. Yeah, that's my answer.
All right, do you want to get into Batman now? I feel like
now we've hit about 30 minutes, so now we can definitely.
All right, I'm bursting at the seams, so don't worry about spoilers just yet. We're not doing spoilers yet.
No spoilers yet.
Everyone here knows what I thought about the movie. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 Deweys on the Dewey Decimal movie scale. I loved lots of it. Matt,
wait, you said 4.5?
You go that high?
You said 4.5.
4.5.
I think I'd stop at 4. I think that's where I'm going to land on. I do think that the duration is a bit of a hindrance. That's it. Like that's the thing. I felt it at the end. Not much too. Like I mean, it sustains for almost the whole 3 hours or however long it was. But I did feel a little bit of like a double fake out ending in a way. And of course, I'm not going to say what that is or why. But like I just feel like it was a little long. But I mean, it's still saying it was a 4 out of 5. I mean, my big takeaways from the film after I saw it. Number one, it's gorgeous. I mean, this is a Batman movie that is playing with really like a horror noir smash up vibe. And as a horror lover and someone who isn't always like Batman isn't my go-to superhero. Like if I'm going to watch a superhero movie, like it's usually not Batman. I'm probably like a little lower on the Nolan films than people are. And like just throughout all the ages, like, yeah, Batman's never been my favorite. So like to get me super excited about a Batman movie is a big deal. And I really do think this movie did that by, again, leaning on horror. And when I say horror, I mean, it really much leans on like detective horror. So like Seven, Zodiac. I mean, really, like there's some Saw shit in here, but it's still, you know, it's still in the DC superhero vibe. So they're not going to like go full out. Other takeaways, like hugely, Pattinson and Kravitz, the chemistry there, the Batcat chemistry is off the charts. I think it's doing something really good with a relationship, however it evolves in that scenario, and engaging with like empathy and engaging with the way that, again, I'm not huge into the comics on Batman, but everyone that is I have talked to and everyone I've talked to about this movie and the other movies, like this is the Batman movie that gets a lot of things right. And this is the Batman movie that shows Batman, again, like no guns. The stress on the fact that like I don't use guns and like Batman actually stopping people and having these really good moments again with Kravitz about like, you know, Batman going to Catwoman and be like, you don't want to go down this path. You don't want to do this. And like stopping other people from doing that. I think that's, you know, I'm kind of like, I'm engaged with the Batman who does that. And then Pattinson himself, you know, like we talked on the show a lot. There was a lot of pre-talk about Pattinson and how he prepared for this role and bring up the Nirvana ties and Kurt Cobain things. And it's like, how is this going to tie in? And then you hear the Nirvana needle drop. And then all of a sudden, like that's setting the stage for his Batman. And all of a sudden, like all those little like Cobainisms and things that like, you know, sounded so odd to be in a Batman film, it makes sense for Pattinson's Batman, who isn't this like overly muscular brute, like who isn't this Batman we've seen a bunch. Like he is just a detective and he's a man inside a suit. And it does a really good job of selling how powerful the suit is. Like he's built this suit to become who he is. He isn't born with these skills. He isn't any of this. So like, he's the Batman who I believe could get hurt very easily. And he's the Batman who like the stakes are higher in a way. Like I don't think we've seen that in a while. So like all those elements just blend in and the cast, everything about it. Cinematography, and this will go into like obviously where we'll talk more about that one super chat we just read about like what do we think about like best picture for Batman and stuff like that. I don't think it'll get best picture. I think Fraser's cinematography will get noticed because it is one of the most stunning superhero films we've seen in a very long time. And you know my adoration of like red light colors. When Batman lights that flare in the darkness, like it's playing again. It's like this really, really fucking like dreadful vibe, and it's doing really good with like black and red. And like, this is a very, very stressful movie to watch, and that's because it's like beautifully done cinematography.
I am not ready to say that the Batman won't get a Best Picture nomination, but I'm also not ready to say that it will because it's still very early in the year. Who knows what can happen? But I think if we wind up with a crop of movies like we have this year, I could make a pretty, like if Batman had come out in 2021, I think this year with what we got, I can make a pretty good case for why the Batman is deserving of a Best Picture nomination. Amongst many others.
So like for this, like if it was a 2021 contender, you're saying like, I could see that with what was nominated and like what
I would very much be rooting for it and think it would have a legitimate chance of getting in there. The technical categories are the ones that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on because Greg Fraser is nominated this year for his work on Dune. And I think his work in Dune is exceptional. And I'm very much rooting for him to win that award. His work in The Batman got me even more hyped. I will be very disappointed if he doesn't get back-to-back Academy Award nominations for his work in this. That score is exceptional. Like, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just could go on.
No. I talked. I fucking talked. You go now.
This score is great. I absolutely love the Batman theme. And it recurs fairly often. And every single time it did, it got the what I think is the intended emotional response from me. So that was something else that I really appreciated. Another thing that's been pointed out quite a bit, and for good reason, is the sound in this movie, which is just exceptional work across the board. The production design, the costume design, the detail and the care that went into all of that, because I really do think that And this is only based on 2 viewings, mind you. I'll see it again and I'm sure I'll pick up other things. But based on 2 viewings, to me at this point, it feels like nothing that I saw or heard in this movie, whether it was a line of dialogue or a detail of production design, was done without purpose. And I think that's a big part of the reason why this world feels so full to me.
Yeah. It looks so good in the sense that it's playing Gotham, and New York has always been the stand-in for Gotham, like it's been obvious, but the ways that they Gothamize New York in this take, especially like the way they hybridize both, it looks so appealing. It just like the whole Metropolis vibe is the overhead shots of the city, the overhead shots of everything, and again that pulls back to cinematography. Everything they're doing with the cinematography is so flawless. Like it flows, it just flawless. Like the way the camera moves. Someone brought up the car chase. The car chase is momentum, like full throttle. It doesn't stop, and you get that moment. Like I'm stopping myself because I don't want to say things and who's in and stuff like that. But like there's a car chase who does this is a superhero movie. It's a Batman movie, but like it's a car chase that is phenomenal. That belongs in like the best car chase films.
I think one more non-spoiler comment I could make for anyone out there, because I just tweeted this actually right before we went live because I had just finished listening to it. I highly recommend listening to the novel, the prequel novel that they just released. It's very short. I think it was like a 2-hour listen on audiobook, but there's certain character details that just, put a little more meat on certain character elements' bones, if you know what I mean. And there's elements of like the car chase and just what it means to live in Gotham that I thought really like beefed. It did not need it. I wrote this in my tweet. The movie didn't need it. It stood on its own 2 feet perfectly fine on my first viewing, but going in again and rethinking about some of these things, the second time, I don't know. There were just like certain things that made me rethink what I saw the first time around, particularly when it comes to, looking around Gotham City and seeing any background actor. You know what I mean? Just like what their experience might have been like.
Well, that comes down to the intro. Like the intro is phenomenal in the way they set things up as Pattinson's Batman. They set things up as fear. Like fear is the main catalyst of this entire film. And fear means so many different things to so many people in this movie. And the way they set that up in the beginning and how, once again, the cinematography does this tremendous work with shadows and like how criminals are terrified of the bat signal. And like the one guy who drops it, who's just like a graffiti artist, and his paint can like rolls into a shadow and it just disappears. And it doesn't matter if Batman's there or not. Like they do a tremendous job of setting up how feared Batman is already just in that introduction. And then again, like that flows into so many things because like also what Batman's afraid of, also what other characters are afraid of. And like, it sets a tone that is consistent and it keeps me so engaged.
I just want to point one quick thing out. Hello, XIC777. You can totally have different opinions than us. It's no problem whatsoever. And we really do encourage you to share your opinions, whether they align with ours or not. But please refrain from using any bad words, making other people feel bad about their own thoughts or taking away from their enjoyment of the movie. As long as we're respectful here, we can always have a conversation and talk about whatever. But you keep spamming the live chat, I am going to put you in timeout. So just play by the rules. We can all have fun. It's all good.
This one, though, I did find it funny that Colin Farrell came out and said he wanted to give Penguin a cigar and they wouldn't let him. And like, there's so much stuff in this movie, but I think that also plays in the fact that they are creating new characters. They are viewing this as a completely new Batman story. It's Matt Reeves' take. It's his take on everything. And I think there were a lot of ways the entire film, it wanted to differentiate from all the other films. Like we have a tremendous Penguin and Danny DeVito. Like Danny DeVito played a great Penguin. Like I don't want to take that away from anyone. And like I like those earlier movies, like the cartoon vibe of the first like Batman movies and the way those play. Like there will always be a like place in my heart for those movies. But what Reeves is doing here and what like the character he's building there, I don't know. I think that was like a pretty ballsy move in a way to say like, no, like we're gonna do our own character in this way. Like we don't want to tie back to the icons. Like we're not gonna give you that just yet. And we still might, like, we still might get there. But it's an interesting move.
Batman Returns is a very big deal to me. It's a very big deal.
Yeah, like Again, I'm in
love
on that
Danny
stuff.
DeVito's Penguin a little too much. Danny DeVito's Penguin was one of the first movie characters that scared me as a kid, but in a way that made me realize how much I enjoyed being afraid watching a movie. Does that make sense? Did I say that right? I might have.
I think I agree with that because, you know, I say like this is a really like horror forward Batman movie, but that's not to say there hasn't been horror elements in every Batman movie. Like Batman and horror go hand in hand. Like so much stuff happens at night, so much stuff happens in the shadows. The Scarecrow stuff in Nolan's films, like that's outright horror. So it's not, you know, these aren't new elements that haven't been there for so much, but like I think for me at least, this was the first like really horror forward Batman that sustained the whole way, and it played into the entire film.
Should we do it? Should we just put the spoiler warning up?
Yeah, we're at 40 minutes. I think there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like I keep thinking about things that I'm like afraid to say at this point. All right, I'm doing it.
Yeah. And this too again, like oh yeah.
Put it
well, I was
up.
gonna say like the horror comic, the comics themselves are tremendously horror forward. And again, as not someone who has read them, but talked to plenty of people who have like got the actual like data on and me going like, am I right saying this? Like, boom, right here. Like you have horror forward, really gritty, like, you know, detective versions of Batman. So like it's there. It's all there. This is the source material. And somebody actually read the source material and said, we're going to make a Batman movie based on it. Like, finally.
All right. It's happening.
Yes, correct.
It's happening.
Okay, we have a ton. There's a bunch of super chats.
I know. I'm going to go back.
Okay.
I'll go back and find them all. You monitor the current chat and make sure no one's saying anything mean or inappropriate. That's not what this channel is for.
But spoilers are up, so spoilers are now on the table. If you haven't seen the movie, get the fuck out of here. Go away. Go home. Go home.
All right. I got our first one here. We're back at
Haunted for you.
Haunted Autumn.
Okay.
The hero turn moment in the Batman, when he realizes he needs to be more than he has been, is the best the franchise has ever done with that moment, in my opinion. That Batmobile intro, going to part 2. I would need to write a full dissertation on the film in order to properly expound upon its greatness. Not perfect, but amazing. Love you guys. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. So glad you dug this movie. I mean, I very much agree with the first part here. The hero turn moment and what it means to Bruce Wayne in this movie to be a hero. Actually, I'm going to walk this back a little bit because I had seen a couple statements out there that this felt like more of a Batman movie and not enough of a Bruce Wayne movie. And I mean, again, to each his own. If that's your opinion, it's totally cool. In my mind, I have an impossible time in this movie, in this Batman movie in particular, separating Bruce Wayne from Batman. Because all I see when I see him operating as Batman is his feelings and his trauma and his experience as Bruce Wayne coming through his actions. They just go hand in hand and are inseparable to me.
Yeah, and that's an interesting comment, the whole like more of a Batman Bruce Wayne movie, because like I do agree, he's barely there as Bruce Wayne. Like that's the whole point of like, you know, Andy Serkis's Alfred saying like you haven't been around this part of your life for so like that is part of the movie. The part of the movie is that he's so I guess lost within Batman, let's say it that way, and like he thinks he's doing so much good, and then you just get that moment where like, you know, one of the criminals uses I'm vengeance, like he uses his own line against him, and that hero moment is, again, going back to the comment, like it's so good. Like Pattinson does a really job. He does such a good job with the facial realization, just like it washes over, and like he has that moment of like, holy shit, like that was my line, and I just heard a bad guy say it. And then that takes us like to the Riddler moments where Paul Dano, as I think Paul Dano is a great Riddler in the Riddler he played, like this little basement dwelling incel who like is trying to weaponize other people just like as sad like him. And I think it's a big statement to make, like, you know, of like that kind of villain. And when they confront each other and like basically Paul Dano is like, you were my partner through all of this. Like literally you were the brawn, I was the brains. You did everything I wanted for me. I think that exchange is like superb. The way that like Pattinson's Batman starts from being like, oh no, he knows who I am. Oh no, he knows who I am. And then all of a sudden it gets 10 times worse when he's like, wait, he thinks we're the same person. Holy fuck. Good. It's so good.
My favorite shot in this entire movie, and this is very high praise because, again, this is an incredibly well shot movie, is the first look we get at Riddler when he's standing behind the mayor, and it like flashes and you see his glasses.
Yeah.
When I was talking about it in my review, I had like a hot second where I panicked that I thought if I told people that it came up in the first few minutes of the film, that everyone would be mad that I revealed that Riddler was in the first few minutes of the film. So I panicked, and I'm like, it had to have happened in like the first 10 minutes. I don't think that saved me anything, but that was my favorite shot in the entire movie. I'm sitting there in the theater on my first viewing, and I was just like, like I'm pretty quiet when I see movies. That happened, and I just sat there. I'm like, that is awesome. And I said it like out loud and couldn't help myself.
And again, if we're tying back to like why I fucking love this movie as a horror fan, it's because like you look at the way Dano's playing Riddler, and like there are so many lines to draw between him and Jigsaw, and there are so many lines to draw between him and like the Seven Killer and stuff like that. And that was Matt Reeves intentionally doing that. Like Reeves has said in interviews, like he drew from those kind of movies. He drew specifically like the Sevens and the Zodiacs, like those kind of thrillers. And that's what he wanted to recreate in the Riddler. And I think the mask, first of all, like, and then the videos that the Riddler makes and like leaves for people to find, it is so unnerving and jarring. And you get the moments where like a trap is revealed and someone's head is in a giant mouse maze, and like the only way through is for the mouse to like eat through the person's head. That is some sick twisted crap, and they go full force into it, and like Reeves doesn't shy away from it. And Reeves is a horror director and like horror writer anyway. Like we've seen what Reeves can do. Let the right one in remake, and his work on Cloverfield, him and Drew Goddard, like he just does it enough. He brings the horror elements in enough where like it defines the movie as unique, and yet still allows a Batman movie to exist outside of the realms of horror. Like it's tiptoeing a line that is so like it's so right there, but it's so good.
That scene made me think of Jigsaw and the Saw franchise, of course, and also of Bone Collector. You've seen Bone Collector, right?
There you go, another one, exactly. All these serial killer films, like he's bringing from that. Yeah,
there's a lot of scare scenes like that, but also I thought one of the scariest elements of the movie is that we are watching a superhero movie, but it very clearly establishes that it's a superhero movie where the superhero can't cut and dry save the day. It's literally impossible because of the systemic issues running rampant through Gotham that literally affect everything. Like you've got criminals fucking each other over. All of that behavior is bled into the police force that's supposed to be protecting us. And then every single person imaginable. And now the book is bleeding into my brain, but people who could have gone on the right track were never afforded the resources that they needed to take steps in that direction. So they turned to darker things. And it's just like this system that keeps feeding on itself. And just because Batman's there to swoop in and protect someone when he catches a criminal doing something wrong, like how much is that going to change unless he takes the time to inspire the masses? And the fact that this movie sells that idea, it's like I didn't expect to tear up in the third act when he's got that torch lit and he's leading people through the flooded, I was about to say Madison Square Garden. I forget what it's called in Gotham Land.
It's like Gotham Square Garden. It's literally just like Gotham Square Garden.
But like I teared up watching that. The movie really earned that moment for me.
So there's some super chats here. So I'll bring up the first.
I got another one.
So here. I went as far back. Okay, so that's the one that I was going to bring up.
All right, here's Wes. No spoilers, but that opening scene felt straight out of a horror movie, and that score gave me Halloween meets Batman the Animated Series vibes. Hope everyone has an awesome weekend.
I can see what we're saying with the Halloween. I was going to say I can see the Halloween meets Batman the way that it's like very piano forward and very like. The score worked for me in the sense that like it's not doing what we're used to. It's taking the notes and playing around with them. So like I think that worked for me.
All right, we got another one here. This is a good question. Jordan Ross Weinhold is back. Which principal character was the weakest based on performance and/or writing, or was everyone strong for this film? So I've been thinking about this since the question first popped up a little while ago in the stream, and I can't personally think of a good answer. Like if you are talking about principal characters,
yeah,
I've got nothing. And I'll reemphasize this here, but one of the things that I said in my review, which is why I think the movie overall is so powerful, is able to sustain its 3-hour running time and makes Gotham feel like such a real full place, is that all of the Riddler's victims feel like real people. It's like one of my favorite qualities of a movie in general is when you watch a movie and you know the characters that you're looking at are going through this particular experience, but you also believe that they have a life beyond that experience. And I feel like that's why all of Riddler's like mini kill stories work so well, because even though, you know, the victims have done shitty stuff, you know that they have a life beyond this that is connected to other people. So I feel like running through them, like the top tier starring ensemble and then the supporting characters, like I'm having a very hard time thinking about a weak link.
One of my friends said that like Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner, or you know, soon to be Commissioner Gordon was a weak link, but like I couldn't echo that same thing.
My heart.
I think Dano did a great job with the Riddler he was portraying. I know he's not the Riddler we're used to, but like I think the way that he plays so snivelly, but at the same time like closeted mastermind is scary because those people exist and they can weaponize people. I'm really drawing a blank because like what is the weakest, maybe like what is it, Colin Farrell maybe, but even he does a great job with the performance that he's given. And like I walked into that going like, did we really need to cast Colin Farrell like under like all that prosthetic and stuff like that? Like was that really necessary? And yeah, like it was. Like the way he played that, he has this great line when he's being interrogated, and I laughed out loud.
I know what you're going for.
But I like he made me laugh out loud in the way that he's portraying that character, and he's gone under the prosthetic. Like that is just the Penguin. Like that is just him. Like there's nothing there. That's the
thing. Like you're proving the point that I just made.
Exactly.
That Riddler victim comment. Like one of the best qualities about this movie is it doesn't matter how big a role is or how small it is filled with a superb talent. And that means someone like Colin Farrell can make the Penguin feel necessary to this particular story, but also make it abundantly clear that they're teeing him up for bigger things, and also add levity like that. Like that kind of stuff doesn't work. Another moment of levity that I still can't believe plays as well as it does is the thumb drive joke.
That's so funny.
That should not have been as funny as it was.
There are a few pause moments and then a line is delivered. And like Pattinson does it a few times too, even as Batman. Like he's not playing for jokes, but you know, he has that pause moment and he just says a line so like straightforward and deadpan, and it is hilarious.
The thumb drive thing though, that's one of those lines where if you handed it to me on a piece of paper in a script, I would have said like, that's gonna fall flat, don't do it. And it's like one of the funniest bits in the whole movie.
And that's some Saw shit. Like it's a severed fucking finger on a thumb. Like it's a severed thumb on a thumb drive, and like it's gross. It's out there. It's
You know who else is really good in this movie, and I'm mad at myself for not name dropping him in my non-spoiler review? John Turturro.
Yeah, Turturro is a fantastic
as Carmine Falcone.
He does, and he doesn't do much either. He's just basically himself in a way, and like playing like these like over the top characters, just like, you know, think of The Big Lebowski and like the movies we know him for. Like the movies we know Turturro for are always out there and weird, and like this is just him playing a straight faced gangster, and the way that Turturro just looks through people is so good.
It's so not. Good. It's like it's even like less intense than that, but like it feels so like purposefully understated. You know what I mean? Like Falcone's whole approach is to be like really chill and measured, but like while he's delivering lines to you, you could like feel the threat like going right through you. Like literally everything he did in this movie felt sinister, even when he was saying words that should express warmth.
and he's never doing that usually.
No, I should say he's never really like, doing it. He's manipulative.
Often not doing that. Yeah. So like for him to get to play this role and for him to get to do that, like let's just get this one out of the way, because I agree. Let's just enough of this BS. Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, like this is so done, and anyone who says this anymore has not been paying attention to cinema for like the last decade at least. Like it is just such a moot point.
It's
if anyone
it's a
says it, they're
blessing
outing
and a
themselves.
curse. It's a blessing and a curse to be part of such a big franchise because there are a lot of hardcore Twilight fans out there, and there's no denying the fact that they got a 1 in a million chance, or 1 in a billion, I don't even know, to be part of one of the most epic film franchises of all time that's going to launch a career and let them do whatever they want for the most part. It's like, I never want to take away from that, but also stop boxing them into Twilight.
Yeah, I meant it more as the people who use it as a negative. I just think like the negative comments of like, oh, they were in Twilight, they can't do anything else. Like those are the ones I write off completely. Like, no, I think Twilight was incredibly influential as a franchise. Like that franchise stands for so much. Like one of the most influential franchises of like our generation and stuff like that. So like, yeah, you can't ignore that.
All right, Jordan's back here. Entrance of the Batmobile highlights. The entrance of the Batmobile, and even though we saw it in the trailer, I was surprised that that beat was as effective as it was. Because like I knew it was going to happen. I knew that shot was coming. But still, when the shot came, when you paired it with everything that had just happened in the sequence and the score, it like rattled me in the best possible way.
It's the quintessential, I know this hero moment is going to happen, but it also has to happen because it's that epic. Like the car just going through the flames and just Penguin's face in that scene alone, just like, I beat the Batman. And he just comes out of nowhere and his face just drops and he's just like, shit. Like, that's it. That's all that's left.
All right, we got Haunted Autumn back here. To echo Perri's sentiment, that score, the best I've heard in a decade at least. Pieces that stand out on their own as classical compositions outside of the film. The Jazz and Catwoman's theme, my God. I cannot wait to listen to this score on repeat. This is definitely one of those types of scores where I'll be able to listen to it separate from the film and it will transport me back to certain moments in the movie. All right, we've got Jaster here. I'm sad this movie isn't for kids. Batman should be for everyone. Serial killer with saw traps keeps kids away. I mean, that's a totally fair point, you know? Like I think there is a not that Batman Returns was really for a kid my age when I did see that, but I did grow up being quite attached to Batman movies. And like a little part of me is sad that folks that age now won't be able to enjoy this, but there's something
I think there's so much
for having different kinds and like the thought that they could, you know, grow up and enjoy it eventually.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think there are many ways to interpret Batman and there are many ways to interpret the properties. And I think for a very long time, it's been kid focused. It's been family friendly focused. So now, like, I don't know, I think we're allowed to have a much more mature Batman for a little bit. I think that it is a shame that like kids will have to wait to see this one, but it's, you know, it's a disservice to storytelling to like kind of put that box on it and say like, well, this Batman has to be family friendly and he always has to be family friendly. Like, I think we're allowed to tell mature stories every now and then. So like, is it unfortunate? Yes, it is. But in the same sense, like these characters are deeply, deeply like, there are many comics that children should not be reading. Like those need to get their adaptations too. So it's like, it's always been there in a way, I think.
All right, we got another good one here. I like this. Decline Awakens says, what would you say is the main theme and or main message of this Batman film? I feel like I could keep my answer short and sweet because I kind of just said it before with the whole, you know, systemic element in Gotham and how, you know, Batman kind of needs to figure out how to best achieve his mission, which is to help clean up the streets of Gotham's and change the city for the better. So I think that was the thing that stuck out to me the most, but you can also very easily get into very character specific themes also. I think this movie is pretty rich and full in that respect.
Yeah, I would just go with like that we're all stronger together. And I think that plays in two different ways, because if we want to be honest, like the Riddler was able to do his things because he found strength in numbers. And like, that's the horrifying aspect of it. The good aspect of it is like Batman realizing that, well, him playing lone wolf alone isn't the way to do this. And he finally is able to like, you know, maybe be a little better at his job when he welcomes in Catwoman, he welcomes in these other people, and he's working right next to like, I love how Gordon is such a big part of like the duo in this. Like it's very much like a buddy cop film for a long time because Gordon's right there with him. So like, I like the idea that it really becomes about, and there's that one line where you have the new mayor saying to him, like, you haven't done anything for the community recently. Like in his mind, he has, because he's Batman. He's like, Batman's been doing so much good stuff for the community, but like Bruce Wayne hasn't. And there has to be that marriage between Bruce Wayne and Batman. And like, that's the big thing. Like, we all have to like do this together, and we all have to find strength together, because no one person is going to solve anything. Nothing gets done alone.
That is very true. In the movie and in real life too. Cam on Camera has a two-parter for us. I love the moment in the film where Bruce is talking about feeling fear like that again. It's like one of the most human elements in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially when he had very clearly spent such a significant portion of his life trying to box that in and then shove that box away and never feel anything like that again. I don't know. He never wanted to feel anything like that again, but I feel like it's necessary. Like, if you don't have those kinds of feelings, then I feel like the drive to do what he's doing isn't the same, or could dissipate in a certain sense.
I kind of like knowing, again, like the moment where Batman has to use an adrenaline shot just to get back up and finish the fight. Like, that is such a good moment, because listen, I'm not going to pick on the Snyder films. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just saying there's a lot less to appreciate in a Snyder film where Batman just picks up a gun and starts shooting people and just blows his way through his problems, where this Batman actually has real stakes and he's fighting a real fight. And like, this Batman could die at any moment. I had no belief in Snyder's Batman that like there was anything more to it than like, I'm just a big bad guy, or like big brute guy who's going to fight my way through my problems. And like, there's nothing interesting there. What's interesting to me is sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna like emphasize what you just said. I was really stressed when they were in the garden and he was hanging from that thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, no one's gonna help him? Like, I knew someone was gonna help him, but I was panicked for a moment.
Because when he takes that shotgun blast to the chest, he's basically done. Like, he's basically done in that moment. And the only energy he has left is to try and pull himself back up, which he can barely do. And like, that is such tension. And that is everything that's sustained by like the dread in the film. Like, the fact that fear, bringing that up again, like that feeling of fear right on the screen, like that is what keeps this movie so interesting, because everyone is afraid. Like Batman is doing what he is, or doing what he's doing because, like, number one, he's afraid of his own family sins and things of that nature. But like, the fear of just like, if he stops, like what is left, like that is pushing him so hard. Like, and that is pushing him to a different fear of like, oh shit, I might die.
I keep thinking about another one of my many favorite qualities about this movie is how good it is at teeing up a really promising path forward for this iteration of the franchise, but while still feeling like a full story. But anyway, the part that gets me really hyped and scared for Batman going forward is like, you think this situation was hard. Now he's going to be dealing with a totally flooded Gotham where, like, I'm imagining a lot of the institutions are going to be in shambles. There's going to be a major power war in the crime realm. Like, I can't imagine a worse possible situation for Batman to have to like jump into and do whatever he can to keep some semblance of order at this point.
This is the Arkham Asylum run. We're just getting, the villains are going to get to take over, and it's going to be a fight for territory, and Batman's stuck in the middle trying to do everything. I mean, like,
oh my,
I'm very excited. I love movies with like multiple villains, and I love where there's like that kind of kingpin fight, and Batman's just kind of trying to have to do what he does. So like, this sequel, I am super hyped on, because again, we get that nice little cameo thrown in there, so we know who's going to be in the next movie.
Yes,
especially
Barry Keoghan can do no wrong. I love him.
I forgot that he was cast in this movie. So when we walked out, Amelia and I were like trying to figure it out. And then finally this morning, someone was like, oh, like, don't you remember like Barry was cast in the movie? I was like, fuck, that's right. That's him, of course. And like, I am very into that casting.
As am I. I mean, cast him in anything and I'll be happy. But I feel like Joker in particular is like, that's almost an impossible role to cast at this point, because we've seen so many incredible iterations of the character. But I really do believe in him.
Yeah, and it's the idea that like a lot of people were, even if you're down on a casting, like we've been down on casting before, like why wouldn't you cast this person as this, blah, blah, blah. And then you see what they do and they prove you wrong. Like, I'm always happy to be proven wrong, but like the Heath Ledger version of the Joker, it's like everyone's like, oh, what's this guy going to bring to the Joker? And like, fuck you, like amazing Joker. So I have no hesitation for this. I'm liking it.
All right, Wiley, what you got for us? It needed to have the Nirvana song for me to love it. As silly as that sounds, I'm a music supervisor in training, so it's important. The fact that it's canon in the movie, I lost it. It changes the game. I did quite like that quality of it myself.
I liked it. It brought the movie into its own world. Like, it literally did erect its own world where, like, a Nirvana song exists. Not only that, but, like, it plays a prominent part in who Pattinson is, like, playing his Batman. And, like, it all came full circle. And again, like, that happens so early. The song starts playing, you're like, it's just that dreariness in Nirvana too. Like, it's the right lyrics, it's the right everything, it's the right band to kind of be Pattinson's lost in himself to fucking Batman. Like that. Good. It's good.
All right, Haunted Autumn. Earlier, Matt mentioned how there were actually stakes in this film. Yes, not only that, but there was actual follow through on those stakes. No one miraculously escapes a nuke that flood kills. That tees up so much. So much I can't handle it.
I mean, yes, like I said it for a reason. Like, I need stakes in my superhero movies. I can't deal with a superhero movie where a hero just walks through and that's the movie. Like that there's not much to a movie like that. Like, there's nothing to appreciate. I
swear I haven't been looking ahead, but like, look what the comment is next that Wiley brings up. We're like all so in sync without realizing it. I've never been more hyped for a sequel because of the flood. It's amazing change for the future. Also, I love rain, and this movie gave me it in tons.
That's that noir vibe, that just like really saturated, rainy, dark. Like, everyone's always at their dreariest and gloomiest, and it sells that in like so much, like buckets. It's just buckets.
All right, Cam on Camera's back. Also, the moment that last frame of the movie with Bruce on the motorcycle and zooming away and how it looks like he's flying. Man.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get there eventually. Listen.
That ending though, where they part ways, it's just because that shot of them riding side by side plays out so long, you have so much time to sit there and be like, no, like don't go. And you know, when it hits that shot where they could go in opposite directions, they're going to part ways, but you don't want them to. We've barely even spoken about Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
Well, actually, this one too. This is interesting to me. Because to talk about something we haven't really talked about, I think I mentioned it once, and it's a good point. Like, he is not in it that much. I do think Andy Serkis has a good presence, though, and I think that even like in the short time we do see with him, there's just the great moment of Batman, or Bruce Wayne kind of says to him, like, you're not a Wayne. And there's that really heartfelt, just kind of like, ooh, did you just tell Alfred that he's not a Wayne? Like, did you try to do that to him? And then they get the moment later where they clasp hands and like full circle, but like, that is, maybe that could be viewed as a little slighter than it should have been.
I mean, I understand him being, I understand, not that it's a criticism. I'm looking for the right word here, but I understand pointing out that he is in the movie less than certain other key supporting characters, but I still feel like he served his purpose. And then Andy Serkis got his big performance moment with that conversation that they have in the hospital after the explosion. Just like, I think he did. I think he was there and did every single thing he needed to do to further Bruce's story in this particular movie. And, I am imagining going forward after everything he was going through in this movie, that it's going to pave the way to, Bruce being more receptive to Alfred in every sense, in terms of him getting more involved in the company and him putting his face back out into the world, but maybe also him being a little more receptive to him getting involved in Batman missions too. Because it's like, it felt throughout the entire movie, like if Alfred wanted to contribute, he had to take the initiative to contribute himself. Bruce wasn't like, here, help me solve this riddle or this cryptogram or whatever.
I'll just take care of all the hard work. I'll just be in the background doing everything for you. Don't worry about it.
All right.
We got a bunch more.
Here, we got Jordan. Jordan's here to say, I love the moment Matt Reeves lets the camera just rest on a character's face for a few seconds as they are reacting or having a realization. Smart move when you've got an exceptional ensemble that can make the most of those moments. He also is very good at letting the camera sit. And this is also, Greg Fraser's compliment here too. letting the camera sit on action scenes. The amount of over editing that I've seen recently rips my heart to shreds because there are so many incredible stunt choreographers and performers out there. And I feel like their work winds up being diminished for one reason or another that necessitates over editing, whether it's, a Helmer style or any other reason. But this movie actually manages to emphasize the fact that these fights feel real and visceral. They're exceptionally well choreographed, but then the editors can also have their moments where they use a cut to either further emphasize like hurt in a scene or a character beat, you name it. It's just it's the perfect balance of all of those department heads coming together and lifting their work together.
Yeah, there was, go back to any number of examples, and even just the last few months, and Snake Eyes, that G.I. Joe movie just stands out as something that
exactly what went through my mind when I said that comment.
Yeah, just over editing to a degree that you can't even see the action. And cinematography in this movie is so good because you can see the action sequences. And I saw somebody in the chat say something along the lines of like, there was no violence or action in this movie. And I don't know what movie you saw then, because I had enough action in this movie for what I was doing. Like, he is a detective. He's a sleuth. Like, that's what Batman does a lot of the time. But like, he still gets into it with the opening sequence is a fight sequence that like takes, and there's like the chase sequences are still kind of action when he's like trying to get out of the police station and things of that nature. Like, I struggle with anyone who thinks that this wasn't a action forward Batman film where like, sure, maybe it wasn't forward, but like it still very much exists. It was enough for me, and I had my fun with it.
I'm right there with you. Roman, how you doing, my friend? I love the movie so much. By the way, anyone else notice Giacchino's Riddler's theme is a dark, twisted musical arrangement of Ave Maria? Genius. I didn't think about that until now. What's up, Matt?
No, nothing. Just I'm reading there? Comments. Like I'm so far behind on comments.
I got so worried that I thought your audio dropped out or something.
No. I'm like trying to catch up with everything. I'm just, there's so much.
Good observation. I will be downloading the score when I sign off from this live stream, and I will be taking it on my drive. I've been listening to it.
Yeah, I've been listening to it on Shudder. Shudder, wow, Spotify.
Shudder's gotten to your brain, buddy. I just purposely did not download it yet because I have so much work to do, and I can't let it take me away from that. Hi, Annabelle. Just here to acknowledge awesomeness and to ingest cuss bombs.
When I get overexcited about something, when I get overexcited, it happens, or if I get very mad, it happens. So like you're in a tough zone with me. I'm either mad or happy on this podcast. Video cast.
Kind of awakens. We can talk about Joker.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about Joker, but we could talk more about Joker.
The funny thing, Minnie Amelia mentioned, like walking out again, was kind of like the first moment that the Riddler and the Joker start having their interaction, between prison doors. So you can't really see who it is at first on the Joker side. And it looked to me like it could be Two-Face, because the teeth are like especially kind of like, it's pulled back here where you can like see the teeth, and it had that kind of Two-Face vibe where it's showing his gums and this is pulled back, like his face is deformed. And then finally you get where he kind of turns and you see his whole face is like that. Mm-hmm. And you see that like it's an inch. So like, I noticed his teeth are like especially fanged and jagged for some reason. And the face paint looks very much like matted and very like dull, not like bright. So I'm really curious to see like the backstory on this Joker, and if they take it the same way, because like, the Thomas Wayne backstory, they're doing some things there, and like they're playing around with backstory. So like, I am curious to see how this Joker backstory comes out. But again, like you said, I mean, you cast someone who has me immediately hooked on playing the Joker, so I'm very okay. And like the laugh they have going back and forth is so not of a Joker and a Riddler we have heard before. And I think that's why I'm excited, because I'm just really here for whatever Reeves is doing at this point with these characters.
I also really liked the addition of Joker in this movie because, yes, obviously it's to tee up the future, but I liked how he influenced the Riddler after all of that. That just gave it an extra layer of meaning and value and purpose. And I feel like that was the key to making it not feel like I don't know who out there sat through the credits, but the end credits thing was like written off as nothing. If you follow the link and you go through the whole process, it's actually a really like rich interactive experience that you should probably see through. But as much as I love end credit scenes, I would much prefer something like what we got in this movie, where it was better baked into the overall narrative for this particular feature and not relegated to a mid-credit scene, where I think it works well in this film while also achieving the same things that a post-credit scene does.
Like that scene is so important because it's setting up the next film, because like you said, the next film is very much going to be a power struggle for Gotham. And the next film is like martial law is enacted in Gotham. Like it is now up for grabs in a way. So like, yeah, Joker and the Riddler probably aren't going to be locked up for very much longer. And they're probably going to be working together, and they're probably going to, yeah.
All right, Blackhawk's back here. What happened to the little boy finding his father dead? It was a shortcut of Bruce Wayne's backstory of his parents dying without showing it. Are we talking about we're talking about the mayor's son, right? That Batman has that connection with after his death.
So wait, I'm gonna ask Amelia really quickly.
Okay.
The small child, the mayor's son, who Batman keeps looking at, is there any canon behind that? Or there's no canon.
Bruce just connects to him because he's
an
orphan, essentially.
That was my take on it. And now I'm curious, because is there enough of a time lapse somewhere where he somehow gets into be Robin?
No.
Okay.
And that would be
no.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
You can't have two spoiled rich boys be Batman and Robin. You have to have a spoiled rich boy and a poor carny. Like it's the law of the universe. That would be terrible.
So they put such a stress on that. I was just like, can they try to do that?
It was a further showcase of Batman's empathy in the film. It was him seeing himself in this little boy who just lost everything.
Yeah.
He still has a mom, but you get the idea.
That's the take, but I was just like, could they ever try?
Well, and the constant callbacks to this young boy, and the fact that he was the first one to reach his hand out when Batman was standing there while the garden was flooding, and like he basically initiated people trusting Batman after all that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very good through line for the movie. Jaster's here. I know I've seen the Wayne Falcone connection in a game or animated movie. Do you know where it's from? Also, Zoe was fire. I feel like we're not the right people to ask where anything was from in source material.
Yeah, if you're going outside the movies, unfortunately, I am not help of that. But we can say that, again, Kravitz was fire.
Yeah.
Because, again, Kravitz fantastic. Her fight choreography was very good. The way that like she was able to be so quick with her, like whether stunt double or whatever was going on there, like it largely looked like her work, and I was very impressed with how fluid it all looked. And again, like those combos she's throwing, just like kicking people like 300, like like side, like high kick, and then like roundhouse, like in a just like that. Like there was no hesitation. It looked so good.
The cats were also very good. The Jughead one is here. Hi, Perri and Matt. I am going to switch off after placing this super chat. I will be watching the Batman this Sunday. Will Bat-Pat replace Bat-Bale? We will see. Love and respect from the UK, guys. When you return to this video, the Jughead, thank you for supporting us. We appreciate it. I don't think Bat-Pat will ever replace Bat-Bale, and I don't think any of the Batmans we've seen in feature film form ever need to like replace each other in any sense. I love the fact that we have so many different iterations of this character, and that was one of the most exciting things about this new Batman movie to me, is that it actually felt like a worthwhile new interpretation on the character. And I know they're pulling a lot of things from the source material that other movies haven't tapped into as much maybe, but I said it in my review, I'll say it again. This Batman feels so specific to Robert Pattinson. If anybody else had this role in this particular movie, it wouldn't have felt the same. And I think that a lot of the actors we've seen play Batman over the years achieve a similar thing. So depending on what mood I am when I wake up in the morning, maybe I'll want a Michael Keaton Batman day. Maybe I'll want a Ben Affleck day. Who knows? There's lots of options out there, and I like that there are options.
Yeah, replace is hard. What do I like more? Like that will kind of happen as a trilogy comes out. Like I'm sure we're gonna get a trilogy here, and we can like start saying like trilogy versus trilogy. How do they sit? But like you know, if I'm in the mood for a certain Batman, I'm going to go to a certain Batman. Like George Clooney is not playing the same Batman that Robert Pattinson is. And like, I think there's a time and a place for both of them. So it's like, I view the takes on this character very much as the movies they're in. And luckily the movies they're in are so different that I can watch them on different levels. There's no good comparison point here. Like, again, maybe Bale and Pattinson someday will be the comparison point because they're two kind of tonally similar films. Like Nolan's were very dark and very like straightforward as well, with like the sternness and again dread. But yeah, it's hard to say replaced.
I feel like I'm often in the mood for Michael Keaton Batman, but that's just me.
There you go.
And Danny Elfman's score. Mick Trex is here. A flooded Gotham could be a great introduction for Killer Croc. Do you think he would work in this version of Batman?
Yeah,
I'm not closing any doors here. I really do think that Matt Reeves is one of those filmmakers where like news could break that he's going to be taking one of the biggest swings imaginable, and I'll believe in him. Like if there's any director that I have faith could go big in a certain respect, it's him.
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason. There's no reason not to include Killer Croc if you don't want. Like that would be a very fun introduction to the more cartoonish elements and bringing them into Reeves's world and how Reeves works with them. Like that could be some real horror vibes if you want to get like Aquatic Horror, put Killer Croc in there.
I'd be down for that.
The dam has been broken. Yeah, the dam is broken. Like
now that you just said Aquatic Horror, I want this even more.
And again, like what we've seen in this Batman and the cinematography and everything we're talking about, and like really hitting these horror notes, like Killer Croc is a straight up horror character. Like that is something you could really go hard on.
Well, now that's all I'm going to think about. Wiley, never been a fan of Catwoman, but damn, this movie made her one of my favorite parts. Zoe's line delivery with words like honey. Do you guys have noir recs? I want to get more into the genre.
My horror noirs always go more campy and comedic, which is a problem.
Like what?
There's this one with Fred Ward, and I'm blanking on the name, and I don't have my phone to look it up. But there's this really good, like it's like an H.P. Lovecraft like horror noir, and it's very much more campy. But it was like an HBO release, so like I tend to go more towards there. But like we talked on our Nightmare Alley thing, like you know, besides like the classic noirs in black and white, like they don't always work for me. So I think like it's even more of a testament to like this movie about why this one does work for me. Where like this is an easy recommendation, where like detective gumshoe, but also like really bleak and dire. You mix those both and you do it right. That's it's good.
We haven't actually had like a good recent noir. Well, I mean, I guess that's because I differ on opinion with Nightmare Alley as many others, but Nightcrawler counts, right?
In a way. Like honestly to me, wow, why am I blanking on Joaquin Phoenix? He's the investigator. Holy crap. Paul Thomas Anderson.
Inherent Vice?
Yes. Inherent Vice is a stoner noir. That is a stoner noir. I mean, like that works. Like
Vice.
Brick is a noir. Like if honestly, if we're going to talk about
I love Brick.
Good noirs, like I think Brick is a really good example of a new one. I just like the whole idea of like the detective gangster noir has kind of gone away because like cities don't operate in the same way anymore. Like, you know, like you kind of lose a little bit of that vibe where like you can't really do the old school noir vibe new. Yeah, Drive again as well. So like, yeah, honestly, I think Brick is a really good one. Drive is a good one. Like you're able to have new noirs that still work, but you're never going to get Cast Deadly Spell. That one. Cast Deadly Spell is so much fun.
Sorry, I haven't been able to like scroll down and then back up. Now you guys are gonna have to wait for me to find the other super chats.
So that's the thing. Like the quintessential Maltese Falcon kind of recommendations, like those haven't changed. Where like other genres, you can keep kind of coming up with new recommendations based on the new movies that come out. Like there are still the classic just regular noir recommendations because like again, the subgenre hasn't really done much of it of that kind of work since then. So it still goes there, but like yeah, I think Brick is honestly my favorite noir of ever since it's been released, you know?
It's been a while. I quite like Brick.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Patrick is here to talk more Nirvana with us. The best part of that Nirvana drop is it happens just as Batman is seeing himself reflected in the kid at the crime scene. Man, that opening, so damn.
And how many
good.
times, like, you know, those again, like just bring up the Nirvana lyrics, just playing into that, and like all the things that Cobain went through and thought, and all those, you know, kind of one person against the world thoughts, and how they do work in this movie, and they work for this Batman, and that's, you know, this Batman taking those and kind of going his own route with them.
Bobby Harris. Hello, Bobby. I thought the same thing, that it could have been Two-Face, but apparently this Joker has a disease that makes him constantly smile.
See, that's again, like, interesting.
We did it.
I think it's going to be a unique take on Joker. Holy shit, we made it through.
We did it. All right, Matt. Any final Batman spoiler comments? Oh, Caleb just got it in there.
Should we say, like, this is the end of our Batman, and we'll end with 2 minutes of football and then be done?
All right.
Thank you for everyone who stuck with our Batman chat for however long we just did it.
I'm going to take this away, and I'll put Caleb's super chat back up. What's going on in the world of football? Cowboys things are going on in the world of football. Isn't Amari Cooper going to get released?
Yeah.
Why?
Cap space. He's a $20 million contract, and they're probably not going to re-sign that. So he's too expensive for who he is, and they're just going to give Michael Gallup a better salary and just keep him. So I think that's where that's going to go.
That's so interesting to me. I know nothing about that part of the process, but when you have a player that good, it's just baffling to me that you would let him go.
Age. He was also injured for a lot of last season.
That's true.
And kind of, like, I had him on my fantasy team. Like, so he disappeared. He disappeared for entire games. He wasn't really needed. So when you have that, and he's worth that much money.
I got it.
But we still don't know anything on Aaron. No Aaron Rodgers updates. No Tom
Didn't
Brady
someone
updates,
say that he's not, like, someone official said he's not getting any phone calls? Like, wasn't it their GM said, you know, I'm not getting any phone calls for offers?
He will play next year somewhere.
Yeah, probably. All right. We've done it. Another show in the books. Another can of,
not bad.
I forgot whatever that was, empty.
Dogfish, vodka, lemonade.
There you go. And an empty
I have to go back to work.
an empty cup of kombucha, because I'm off to moderate a Q&A. Yay. I'm very excited. We will see you all next Friday for an in-person Merri Hour. My Q&A tonight kind of ruined the plans. I apologize. We're not in the same room, but we will be back in the same room next Friday. All right.
Cool.
That's it. We're out of here. Happy Batman weekend, everyone. It's still going. It's still going.
Yeah, still going. Did you
stuck?
click in?
It's just